I'm back and it's time for another episode of Missions. Today, I'm at the day ticket carping mecca that is Linear Fisheries, and specifically, I'm on Hunts Corner Lake. Now, in terms of missions, we've got a couple of prizes up for grabs if I can complete them. Those prizes being a place on our end of year social at Embryo Lake's Baulking and a session on Linear Fisheries free of charge on us. In order to complete those missions and get those prizes, I've got to do the following. It is a non-linear, linear style mission show. Bear with me. I have got to catch 2 carp minimum, one of them being north of 20 pounds, and I've got to do it without being able to fish 3 on a spot, and I can't fish further than 10 wraps out from the bank. The fish are there, I'm in the swim, I can't wait to get going. Let's see what I can do, eh? All right, before I put any rods out, what I'm going to do, because I think there's a chance before this weather potentially changes, is I'm going to go for an all-out surface attack. It was really warm the preceding couple of days, and now it's just started to sort of be a bit more overcast and some rain's due. So hopefully there's a little window of opportunity on the surface now, just as I get in the swim, before I worry about all the bottom bait rods. Fingers crossed, eh? I wish my teenage years were as successful as this in terms of bird life, because I've got mallards, I've got coots, I've got seagulls, I might even have the old moorhen as well out there in numbers going nuts for these floaters. And this is typical, you see it time and time again on these type of venues. People put out 2 or 3 spods of floaters, the birds come in, they give up. The key is keep feeding. That I guarantee you they'll take regardless. What really helps as well is I've got yellow sort of spot and marker braid on here. When I'm putting the dot spot out, those seagulls do not like the braid on the surface. The coots, to be fair, and the mallards, they don't seem that fussed about actually taking the baits off the surface at the moment. It's the seagulls that are the main concern. However, just leaving that braid on the surface that's visible, they just don't like it for some reason. So if you're in this situation, it looks good for a bite on the top, and you are confronted with a mass of bird life, keep feeding. There you go, illustrated. The birds have gone 30 odd dot spots, that was, full of mixers. At one point, well, I was living hell at one point. A lot of people, as I said, would have stopped. They'd have done maybe 10 at most. But just by having the persistency and, to be fair, the amount of floaters, but floaters ain't expensive. Dog biscuits are what, from Tesco or wherever. You got to keep feeding, they'll go. They'll get full up, or something will spook them and they'll go. There's one. I need numbers really, I need that competitive feeding before I put a hook bait out there. Hopefully Mr. Carp ain't too far away. My stuff is everywhere. This is what happens when you're not prepared, ladies and gentlemen. You've got stuff everywhere. You've got fish on top. You've got a mission to pass. You've got to make it happen. Well, there you have it. Keep feeding, feed off those birds. It did look good before this weather comes in for a chance off the top. And we've hooked up on one. It's led me a merry dance already, absolutely shredded me down the lake, but they started coming up in numbers. I kept that dot spot on the top of the water and that sort of high visual braid to stop the seagulls, because the seagulls are out there now hammering it. They came up in good numbers, to be fair. There was at least 10, 12 fish going for it on the surface. And this one snaffled my little whittled down pop-up hook bait, and now it's leading me down this margin, which I don't like. That was damaged. The hook ramp is damaged. Yeah, I can't give it loads. What an absolute battle royale. Just under that branch, I just basically put the rod low, hand lined. Well, that, oh, if it comes in, it's a fish. We're off the mark. My adrenaline's absolutely pumping after that fight, because that was hairy. He was an absolute demon. Life is good, innit? We love a bit of linear. How is that for a start? I've probably been in a swim an hour, and I've got a 21 pound, 4 ounce Hunt's Corner mirror, and off the top. It did look good for it off the top as I got in here. The rain is due to come in and we're going to get a bit of a pressure drop. So it might be that I switch tactics and go on the bottom, but you can't fault that. On the complex for literally an hour and we're off the mark. We've ticked off one of the things we needed to do, which is catch a 20 pound plus Hunt's Corner carp. I'm very happy. I'm going to give the floaters a little bit more time and see if I can catch another one. And if not, we might change tack and get on the bottom. Either way, that is a good start. Well, the forecast rain has come in. It's intermittent at the moment. And having caught that one so quickly, it'd be stupid of me not to stick with the mixers for a little bit longer. I've got the geese and the birds coming back in, so it's repeating the same process. Keep the bait going in. Don't be scared to give them a bit. If the birds get involved, use that coloured braid on the surface to put them off. Now, in terms of hook bait, what I opt for, I have a little pot of goodies, but my go-to is a trimmed down, sort of standard boilie. Now, I trim off all the sides, because once I've trimmed it nice and square on all sides, and it's looking more like a mixer, I cut a little groove, and you're probably not going to be able to see this, just with my scissors, I cut a little groove along the bottom of the pop-up, okay? Just a little groove, a little line. Now, once you've got that groove, what that's going to do is that is going to form a sort of a channel as to where your hook shank is going to sit. I'm then going to apply a little bit of super glue to that groove that I've chiseled in the pop-up, and then I'm going to put my hook shank in said groove. Just hold it for a few seconds, 5, 6 seconds. It's quick. I don't get glue on my fingers because I've done it so much. It's tight to the shank and it leads to sort of proficient hookups when fish are feeding on your bait. The only other step, and this is an added tip if you like, is with my freebies, I always coat them in some salmon oil. And all I've done is poured it into the cap and I just dunk my hook bait in that salmon oil. I also take a bit of my salmon oil in my fingertip and run it down my floater hook length. That ensures that it floats on top of the surface, my hook length. It also ensures that my hook bait, there's a bit of salmon oil leaking off it, which is the same as those freebies. A few other tips to use: get out there, get some mixers out, catch yourself a few. The floater fishing kit is primed and ready, but I've had to leave it as much as I wanted to carry on floater fishing. And what I'm doing at the moment, oh, that's a nice drop, is finding some clear spots. On most of the linear waters, you are finding clearer spots in amongst the weed. It's the same here. I've got a firm drop on some gravel and then it just comes into some silt, and I'm going to fish the seam between those two. Now, because I'm in peg 9, Most of the swims are on the other side of the lake, so a lot of people are casting quite far across. So I'm going to get my spots lined up now. Well, there's nothing happening on the top, and I'm going to fish close to me, and I would have fished close to me probably anyway. Found a really nice drop there, which is just pure gravel, and I come into sort of the siltier, softer part of the spot. I'm going to target that as one area and then have a look, because I can't fish 3 rods on a spot either, as you would do at linear, at another spot just out in front of me in the middle. Every carp angler on the planet has heard of linear fisheries. It is the epicentre of Oxford. However, Hunt's Corner, where I'm fishing, is a little bit, I think, of a hidden gem. It's 10 acres and there's 10 swims. So straight away, you've got a good commanding amount of water per swim, pretty much an acre to yourself. It's also a bit more sort of narrow and intimate in terms of fishing. That gives you a load of different options to fish to. You can fish near margins, far margins, the middle of the lake, zigs, and they love a mixer as well. In terms of topography, there is silt patches, clay patches, gravel patches, and weed. There's pretty much an absolute smorgasbord of anything that you'd want to fish to, and the fish do show and fizz and tell you exactly where they are. Now, as if that wasn't enough, in terms of stock, there's over 400 carp in these 10 acres. And in amongst that, there's a load of 30s, a load of 20s, and fish going over the magical 40-pound mark. As linear as a complex has everything sort of teed up in terms of the multitude of different venues you can fish, the fact that this is at the back of the site as well sometimes means that it's less fished or less populated. It certainly has been in this trip. There's been a couple of swims where majority of the fish are free. So it's a really good opportunity for you to have your own bit of water, a little bit more sort of peace and serenity, and the sort of space, if you like, lack of sort of noise and footfall behind you to really sit back, relax and enjoy. Couple that with the fact that linear obviously has a fantastic, really well-stocked bait and tackle shop in the main site. Means that if you need anything last minute, you crack off, you need some more bait, I don't know, you need a packet of hooks, you can go and get that. And it is the perfect little venue, and it really is a hidden gem. If you haven't fished it, get on the catch app, book yourself on, and I guarantee you, you'll have a lovely time. Worm juice on my nose. Welcome to linear. I found the mother lode. I had a call of nature in the middle of some biblical monsoon style rain. Peg 10. Literally, I saw probably 6 shows on my walk round, came back, saw a few shows on the way back, got in the swim, the rain has dried up temporarily, I've come down here and it is sheeting up, there's fish showing, they're clearly all down this end and there's no anglers in peg 10 or peg 1 until I think tomorrow morning, maybe later tonight. So what I've done is I've taken 2 rods, got my little solid bag kit and I've just flicked couple of solids just in the vicinity of where those fish are churning at the bottom and showing. I'm going to give it an hour or so, hopefully it doesn't chuck it down with rain, and fingers crossed I can definitely snaffle one. To be fair, there's a lot of fish up this end, believe it or not, as always, where there's no lines, so I'm going to try and make something happen. It might be, depending on what happens, that I move in here. I mean, it might be that I nick one and then do the night there. It depends on what happens with these fish. But I've certainly found them, and it explains why we haven't had any liners, shows or anything where I'm fishing after that one I caught off the top. They've clearly moved into this sort of safe zone of water. I'm certainly a lot more confident here seeing this than I am sitting in that swim with no fish in it at the moment. It was worth a few hours just before dark here, unfortunately. nothing's materialised, and somebody is due in this swim first thing in the morning. So while the opportunity was here and nobody was in it, nobody was booked on, I'm going to get out of the area, back to the main swim. I'm going to deploy the rods again, put a fresh hit of bait out, and hopefully the next time you see me will be during the night playing one, or first thing in the morning. Who knows, it could have been so sweet. Either way, I'm confident going into the night. You need to nick one more and that'll be mission complete. Well, good morning. No, but the camouflage of my bivvy isn't that good that you can't see it. You've joined me down the bank where I sort of ended last night. Essentially, throughout the course of the night, apart from absolute torrential rain to epic proportions, you've been able to move the bivvy because it was flooding. Nothing happened. The fish have not been there. They've stayed or remained in this top end. It's about 5:40 in the morning, hence why I'm speaking quietly. I've crept up to the top end and it's absolutely churning up. Now there's no anglers booked in. I've checked the catch out until 10 AM. So I've basically got until now through to 10, 9 if I wanted it, to try and make something happen. The activity is definitely here and it makes sense. There's no lines in the water. There's no angling pressure. In the carp at the moment, whether they're feeding on other anglers' old bait, whether they're just ripping up the weed, I don't know, but there's loads of fizzing, the odd show, and there's definitely activity. So I've put 2 solid bags out onto patches of fizz. Fingers crossed I can nick one. That's what they're on. That's why I'm not getting a bite this day. Well, that right there might be why I'm not getting a bite. I've just brought my solid in, clean as a whistle, loads of fizzing over it. And with it, I've brought back a bloodworm. They're clearly on some form of naturals out there. That's why it's fizzing so much. And there's the evidence. And I've had this a fair few times on a fair few different venues, and it is very tricky to get a bite if they're preoccupied by those little things. And clearly, by the amount of activity, fizzing and everything else, and the lack of action on those rods, they really are preoccupied. This is the last ditch attempt before other anglers are due in the swim. Having seen that bloodworm, I don't think the bags are going to do a bite. As I said, I've been in this situation before, so I've opted for a worm rig. Loads of natural attraction to hopefully mimic the naturals that they're feeding on. I'm going to flick that out on the bubblers and see if that brings a better result. So last roll of the dice before having to head back. Fingers crossed, eh? We only need one, come on. I reckon it'd been out there 10 minutes on those worms, and it's absolutely tore off. They're fighting so hard at the moment, but it had to happen. There was so much activity. Clearly, solid bags, pellets, boilies are not the one. A bunch of worms, irresistible. They're tried and tested on these venues. They fish so well on the worm, and literally within 10 minutes of putting that out, it fizzed over the top of it, like they have been doing over the bags. And it's ripped off, a rod on the floor. And let's hope we can coax this one in the net. We've had our 20-pounder. And if this comes in, that'll be mission complete. It is absolutely rocking. is a familiar linear sight. A mirror with a bunch of worms and some fake corn hanging out of its mouth. And that is mission complete. Honestly, the amount of activity there, I was pulling my hair out, and I don't want to pull this hair out. And a bunch of worms, sorted them out. That is very non-linear. 1 in 1 to a non-mixers, one stalking with a bunch of worms in a different swim. Let's get him out, let's have a look at him. That's mission passed. Bosh! Here he is, the all-important mission completer. Another 20-pounder, another lovely Hunt's Corner carp, and I've had to work for it. I found them fizzing, chucked solid bags at them, nothing. A bunch of worms, right on the fizzers. Within 10 minutes, it's ripped off. And we have mission complete. Look out for another question, another prize to win. But I am going to carry on fishing, and I am very relieved and very happy to have finally got this one in the bag. Last night, I was pretty bleak with all that rain and not a lot of activity on the rods. But things have changed. Just shows you, get moving, find them, and you can get it done. Do not forget to submit your catch reports via the Catch app. This one will be going on as soon as I've slipped him back and taken a few stills. As you can see, I'm back in my swim. What I am going to do is chuck the rods back out to the same spots, worm hook baits on all of them, and see if that doesn't unlock maybe another bite. But once the rods are out, more importantly, I'm going to announce the winners from the last episode of Missions. So I'll get these out and I'll be with you shortly. Time to announce the winners of my last episode of Missions on Toll Pits. Now, the prize up for grabs was primarily, first and foremost, a place on our October end of year catch social. And the winner of that is, Mr. Lister?
Ash Angling Adventures.
Ash Angling Adventures. Drop us a message, or we'll drop you a message, mate, and sort you out a place on that social. The other prize was a Nash bundle, and the winner of that prize is...
You'll laugh at this one. Tiny Tiddlers 8170.
Tiny Tiddlers 8170, top name, well done. Drop us a message, we'll get in contact with you and we'll sort that bundle out. Right, I'm gonna get a brew, sit back, hopefully one of these goes. Either way, I'm happy. Unfortunately, no fairy tale ending. The fishing is a little bit moody. However, I have passed the mission and I'm pretty sure I've the only 2 bites on the lake. When this thing turns on, you can expect way more than 2 bites, but I'm very happy. And because I've passed the mission, there is a chance for you to win 2 prizes. Now, to win those 2 prizes, you need to subscribe to the Go Catch YouTube channel. You need to like this video. And firstly, to win a place on our Embryo Baulking social in October, you need to answer this question in the comments. The question is, what was the weight of the first carp that I caught from Hunt's Corner off the top? Put that in the comments, make sure you subscribed, you like the video, and we will pick somebody at random. And the second prize was a free session on linear fisheries, either Hunt's Corner, one of the other Go Catch lakes. In order to win that, you need to answer this question. I'm on a Hunt's Corner. How many pegs are there on Hunt's Corner? Put your answers in the comments after you've liked and subscribed. I'll be back again soon with another episode of Missions. Thank you guys for watching.